should we end on a much more positive note? So yesterday we started with the positive note, which was Lamar Jackson, the offense.
Yeah.
And maybe we should just end with it and just how absolutely phenomenal he was. Like everything we've just been talking about, all the defensive shortcomings, well, they were overcome by Lamar Jackson. Let me see. Right now,
Yeah.
hold on, let me first bring this up. Right now, through 10 games of the season, Bobby, he has already matched his passing touchdown total from last year when he was an MVP. He's got 24. He's got 24. Plus, I believe he has 2 more rushing. So that's 26 in the last 10 games, in the first 10 games. He is well on his way to getting 40 for the year.
Oh.
Well on his way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
on
such
top
a
of
part
it,
of his game this year. Like it's
Bobby,
look
the
at this.
touch. The touch on his passes, and how many times was he just orchestrating, like the one to Bateman when he did, the 3-pointer. It was just like, hey, I'm running here. Make sure you go over here. And like it's all slow motion for him.
Yeah.
It's Madden for him. He's on cruise control and just like touches it in.
Yeah.
Same thing to Mark Andrews when Mark Andrews, did his own thing on the route.
Yeah.
And so much so that the reporters asked about it and they were like, how did you know where to go? He's like, listen, we've been playing together a long time. We're in sync, me and Mark,
You guys forgot?
or like the touch to, well, I mean, he was wide open, but Nelson Aguilar. And then, the one to Tylan was all Tylan. Like Tylan for sure boosted Lamar's stats a little bit on that one.
With a key forced missed tackle right there on the left sideline, which obviously
2 forced.
Yeah. That initial one though was awesome.
And as bad as
guy had him dead to rights.
And as bad as Geno Stone looked on that, sure would still like to have Geno Stone right now.
No kidding.
But yeah, so let's look at 2023 to 2024 through the first 10 games. Both times Ravens are 7-3. But he had 10 pass touchdowns to 24 this time. 5 interceptions to 2. 481 rushing yards to 538. I mean, he's on his way. I mean, he's totally on his way. The guys that get up, we're talking about, is he the MVP? Everybody was on the same page, except for one guy who's off in left field.
Because you brought it up, MVP Lamar Jackson, MVP Lamar Jackson.
All day long.
MVP Lamar, no.
Lamar, look a little further down south, I-95. The definition of MVP.
Look where?
I-95. Go down.
Which way, up or down?
Down.
Down.
Jaden Daniels. I love
Man, it
Lamar
don't matter
Jackson.
which way you look.
But if the definition of MVP,
ocean,
where would the Washington Commanders be, guys, if Jaden Daniels wasn't the quarterback?
Where would the Baltimore Ravens be?
Yeah.
Kidding.
See, this is what happens. This is like the LeBron discussion,
better
right?
in every category.
Lamar's competing with his yesterday's self.
Himself. Yeah,
Exactly. He's great. I'm not taking anything away from Lamar Jackson. I'm just saying.
Yes, you are. You take MVP.
Taking his third MVP award.
You reached in the cabinet and took it right away.
I'm not taking anything away from you.
Look at the transformational
You just got
impact that Jay
fatigued.
did.
Let him make the problem is this, though. Lamar Jackson can't have that transformational impact that Jaden Daniels had because Lamar Jackson was on this team last year and also the MVP.
Didn't they play each other this year?
All right, we're going to continue this conversation.
Bart was killing it on that segment.
Tannenbaum didn't even have a chance to give his point. I don't know what the point is. I mean, you got the rookie of the year and the MVP. It's clear cut.
It's so clear cut. And by the way, it's like, you don't even want to like downplay what Jaden's doing. I mean, what he's doing is absolutely phenomenal, but it's more recent. Lamar turned around the Ravens too. How do you turn around something from when you were the MVP last year?
Mm-hmm.
So that shouldn't be, totally what it is. Jaden Daniels is a sensation, but to Bart's point, they just played and Lamar Jackson outplayed him, and Lamar Jackson is better in almost every single statistical category. He's bailing out his defense week in and week out. It's absolutely clear, although much love to Jaden Daniels, and he absolutely is going to deserve that Rookie of the Year award.
Sarah, the numbers are endless, and I think one that certainly backs up his value are the numbers when trailing in games this season. Look at what he's done when trailing. We all saw what he did last night, down 21-7. But I'm talking about averaging over the season a 86.3% adjusted completion rate, over 1,000 passing yards, 273 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, and no picks. He's still only got 2 picks on the year, and one of them was a bobble from Rashad Bateman that hit him right in the breadbasket. So, like, is that enough? I mean, is this enough? What about third down?
Give us more. Give us more stats here.
I mean, how much do you guys want? We have time. We have slides. Third down in the second half, got to have it downs. 7 for 7, 133 passing yards, 19 pass yards per attempt, 3 passing touchdowns, no picks, a perfect passer rating. That's something he's become familiar with. And look at this. Look at the intermediate game. Plus 18 expected points added on dropbacks after halftime. That's the second highest mark by a quarterback this season. The chart's beautiful. What about when trailing just yesterday? You saw the averages over the course of this season. What about trailing just last night? 17 of 22, 225 passing yards, 30 on the ground, 3 picks, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
And Bobby, just to go back to the trailing stuff.
Yeah.
You cannot overstate it, because one of the knocks on the Ravens is that they couldn't come from behind to win, right? That was like 2019. And since then, that's kind of been the narrative. But when you're trailing in games and now you're a 78.3% completion percentage and you're putting up 11 touchdowns, no interceptions, and then all these rushing and passing yards, almost 1,300 when you're trailing. Bobby, when you have the defense that you have this year, this is going to be absolutely critical, because you're not always going to be able to come from behind, or you're not always going to be able to play with the lead, excuse me. And it's like, you're just not when, like, you blink an eye and Jamar Chase is in the end zone, or any number of wide receivers. This is an absolutely important stat to be looking at. It says Lamar Jackson can come from behind.
Yes, he can. And he's executed 3 wins so far in 2024 alone through 10 weeks, when the Ravens have trailed by at least 10 points. Used to be their Achilles heel. Now it's dirt off the shoulder. And look at where he is right now in terms of highest passer rating through 10 games of a season since 2000, with some elite company. Future and current Hall of Famers like Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady. And we all know how much this guy wins at a aggressive clip. And Kyle Barber put together his record as a starter through the first 10 games throughout the Lamar era to date. He just wins. The last 4 seasons, he's began years at a 7-3 record, 2021 through 2024. 2020 was 6-4, and of course 19, his first year as a starter, 8-2, which they went on to rip off 6 straight after that and finish 14-2. He just wins. We know when he needs to actually win in terms of finalizing that resume, making it complete. But he wins, Sarah, and he wins early and often.
You showed some stats there of him comparing with some of the greats. Well, Bart Scott, this is the last one we'll have from Get Up. Bart Scott had the perfect analogy for Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes.
Now Lamar Jackson is 10-1 against the Bengals. Let's take a look at some of his numbers. 11 of 13, 3 passing touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Alien.
And look at this. A year ago, he was the MVP. Now look at this year's numbers. How about 24 passing touchdowns, more rushing yards? He came in as the MVP favorite. You're shaking your head, RC.
Because I don't know what to say anymore, right? It's getting to the point that every week's going to be a Lamar Jackson praise fest. And I'm going to be honest, let's take away history and only focus on this season. He's the best player in the world. To me, that includes Patrick Mahomes, that includes Joe Burrow, and that includes any other non-quarterback you want to talk about in this conversation. It's only about winning a championship for Lamar Jackson right now. And based on his play, it's a no-brainer that they have everything offensively to do it. But if your defense can't stop a nosebleed, then you don't have a chance to beat a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs who have a defense. And what makes me nervous is that Lamar Jackson wins his 3rd MVP. We know he's the runaway, at least this season, best player in the world. And he's still sitting at home watching with us on Super Bowl Sunday because of a defense that is inept.
Yeah. Right now, Lamar Jackson is Peyton Manning and Patrick Mahomes is Tom Brady.
Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's been
Right?
that analogy's been used before, and I think it's accurate as of right now.
I think the Lamar to Peyton has been used a few times
Yeah.
because people have been, Lamar supporters have been begging people to be patient with them, especially because he started out, so young in the league. And that, Peyton Manning didn't get his Super Bowls until I believe his 7th year, which is the same year that Lamar is in right now. And, he was, I don't know if he was criticized as much as Lamar is because
he was
it's
pocket
just a
passer.
different age. It's social media. It's where Lamar came from is like is how the Ravens used him in terms of like running him more and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. And then at the time, Tom Brady was winning the rings. And so that's been Patrick Mahomes. And I sure hope Lamar starts to catch up. And there's no better time than now. But they were absolutely right. And Marlon Humphrey's right. The defense has to get right for that to happen. They got to get right. So, I'm trying to think.
Other note, I wanted to add in another note here, just in terms of the variety that they're winning games offensively with. Bo Smolka noted wisely here that Tylan Wallace became the 6th different player to lead the Ravens in receiving yardage through 10 games. 6 different player. Tylan, Zay, Bateman, Justice, Nelly, Likely. So you really are getting contributions from a bunch of different guys in the passing game and not just specifically wide receivers. They've got pass catchers all over this offense. And whenever 16 gets involved in something that's non-special teams, I think everybody within the fan base has just sort of an affinity for Tylan because of how much of a team guy he really is.
Yeah, he is.
And man, there's something about that left sideline that he loves, isn't it?
Ooh, that tightrope.
How did he keep that foot in, Sarah?
Did
he stay in bounds?
Did you happen to go back and watch the punt return against the Rams since yesterday?
No, did you?
Oh, I did. Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Just to compare the sideline?
Yes. And it's crazy how many tackles he like broke or made people miss right down the sideline. Like it's crazy. It was actually more in the punt return.
That's awesome.
Because he's going up against the whole defending special teams unit coming from behind. But yeah, he has a knack for that. He has a knack for that. And by the way, in the post-game interview with Amazon Prime, they had asked Lamar a question about Zay Flowers. Mm-hmm. And they said, how great is he? We know he didn't have a big game today, but how great is he? And he's like, oh, he's, talks about how good he is. He goes, but to me, he was big in this game. He goes, because you may not have seen it, but I saw that all eyes were on Flowers. Mm. And so he said it opened up things for everybody else, including the Tylan Wallace catch and run.
There you go.
So from Lamar's perspective, that was huge. Yeah.
Not going to show up on the score sheet, but Zay's sheer presence alone and what's looking like a Pro Bowl year in season number 2 is just as impactful as when he's directly involved.